What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another video. This time we're taking a look at Addams Family Values, the sequel to the 1991 Addams Family movie. This movie is once again directed by Barry Sonnenfeld, and I'm not going to waste no time. I'm going to get right into this. Addams Family Values is, to me, it's equal or better than that first movie. Addams Family Values is a riot. I forgot just how funny this movie really is. I think from a story standpoint, I think the story for this movie is much more stronger, and I think the comedic bits in this movie they outdo that of the first movie. Now, I love and adore that first movie, and but I think Values is a perfect sequel. It has everything you want in a sequel. It outdoes its predecessor, tells a better story, and it further develops these characters. And it does some pretty interesting things with the characters as well. Though I think it could have done maybe a little. I think it could have done more things with certain characters that I'll get to momentarily. But overall, I think this movie is a blast. So the overall story of this movie is that Morticia and Gomez they have a new baby named Hubert, and they find a nanny named Debbie Jelinski, played by Joan Cusack. And Fester just happens to fall in love with this nanny. However, it's revealed that this nanny is also a serial killer known as the Black Widow, who kills men for their money. So she fits right in with the Addams family name and the Addams family. And right off the bat, that premise alone is just hysterical. And I think Joan Cusack in the role of Debbie, I thought she was great. I thought she was she's hysterical in this movie. This movie was my first exposure to Joan Cusack when I first saw this movie over 20 years ago, and I thought she was great in this movie. I like her a lot as the character of Debbie. She's such this manipulating, conniving person, but at the same time, when you get to the end of the movie, it tries to make you feel sorry for her in a very tongue-in-cheeky type of way, and it's hysterical. And again, Joan Cusack, she's fantastic in this movie, and you can tell she's having a ball playing this movie. Raul Julia, Angelica Houston, Christopher Lloyd, they once again return to their roles as Gomez, Morticia, and Fester, and they're just as good in this movie as they were in the first movie. Uh, it's also very interesting to note that Raul Julia was unfortunately diagnosed with stomach cancer while doing this movie, and he died a year prior to the film's release. And when you watch his performance in this movie, you cannot tell that this man is sick. He's giving it his all, 100%. You would think that this man was healthy as an ox. And I have to attribute that to Raul Julia's professionalism as an actor. Just because he was sick, he didn't let that hamper his performance. Kind of like Chadwick Boseman for the current generation of movie fans. You know, Chadwick Boseman, who unfortunately passed away not too long ago, did a majority of his Marvel movies while sick, and you would have never known that because he gave 100% performances. Raul Julia, he is no exception either. He did fantastic in this movie. A lot of my favorite Gomez bits are in this movie as well. Particularly this great scene at a police station where he's ranting and raving to this cop played by Nathan Lane, and the bantering between the two is hysterical. Another great scene in this movie is what I call the Bachelor Scene, where he's trying to where they're throwing Fester a bachelor party after gets engaged to Debbie, and that's a great scene too because a girl's supposed to pop out of the cake, but it never happens. And then when Gomez opens the cake, he was just like, "That poor girl, Lurch. Was she in there before you baked?" I love the macabre humor in this movie. It's fantastic. Uh, Another thing that I like about this movie is that Pugsley and Wednesday they get more focus in this movie as opposed to the last movie, and I really like it a lot. Christina Ricci as Wednesday in this movie really got to show off her acting chops in this movie, and I thought she was really good. And the whole thing of Wednesday and Pugsley going to a summer camp and being exposed to the normalcy of people is hilarious. They're completely fish out of water, and it's hysterical. And the two camp counselors, played by Peter McNichol and Christine Barnarski, they're just over the top, goofy, and hilarious. Especially Peter McNichol, whose facial exaggerations and the way he delivers his dialogue is just so over the top and hammy that you can tell the man's having a good time. And Christine Barnarski, she's no different as well. And I thought they complimented each other really well. I thought they were hilarious. as the two kept counselors. And I also like this budding romance that Wednesday develops with this character called Joe Glick, played by an actor named David Clumps, who you may know from the Santa Claus movie. He played Bernard. And I like the budding romance that develops between those two. I thought that was really well handled. If there's one thing that I have a criticism with this movie is that I would have liked to have seen more scenes of Wednesday being manipulated and seduced by the normal side. Like the movie kind of teases it during this pageant scene. But prior to that, it teases it when Pugsley, Wednesday, and Joel are in this room watching nothing but Disney movies and happy stuff. And the movie kind of teases that Wednesday was being manipulated by the normalcy, and I would have liked to have seen Wednesday actually be manipulated by normalcy until she's eventually broken out of it by Joel and Pugsley. But it just so happens that she pretty much faked the whole thing and that she was never really seduced by the normalcy. I would have had her be seduced by the normalcy because I think Wednesday acting like a normal girl would have been downright hysterical. I think Christina Ricci would have done a hell of a job putting it together. Whew. Oh, now let's get to Fester and Debbie. I think Lloyd and Cusack have really good on-screen chemistry with one another. Fester as like this doting husband, while Debbie's doing whatever she can to kill this man, and it just doesn't work because it's Fester. You can't kill Fester, right? And it leads to a lot of funny scenes, including especially one scene where Debbie rigs a bomb that blows up a house, while all the while she's hanging out in the bar singing Macho Man with Tony Shalhoub, and another great scene in this movie. I'm telling you, Addams Family Values has got so many funny bits. It's got so many funny scenes. Barry Sonnenfeld knew what he had with Addams Family Values. He had a tighter script, a stronger story. In my opinion, 2 years later, his directing was more refined, and he was more comfortable with the macabre comedy that he can get out of the Addams Family characters. And with Values, to me, he pulled that off perfectly. Even the bits with Pugsley and Wednesday with the baby Pubert, how they're trying to kill him because they feel that they're gonna get bounced off, is hysterical stuff. And the whole ending sequence when Pubert ends up saving the day and ends up saving his family by electrocuting Debbie is hysterical as well too. Oh man. So yeah, there's a lot more I could say with Addams Family Values, but I'm just gonna leave it at that. As you can tell, I love Addams Family Values. I forgot how much I loved and enjoyed this movie, and I'm gonna say this. I think Addams Family Values is just a tad better than the first movie. Again, there are certain things I would have done a little bit more differently to get more comedic mileage out of it. But overall, I think this is a fun movie. It's a great sequel, and I like it on par with that original movie, which is why I'm going to give Addams Family Values a solid 8 out of 10. This is a great sequel on par with its predecessor. You can watch Addams Family and Addams Family Values back to back, and you're going to get tons of laughs. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Addams Family Values. Let me know yours in the comment sections down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I will check you back next time for more.